Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective. This is Think Design Stories. In this series, we will be going behind the scenes on one of the most iconic laptop brands ever conceived and is still going strong. Tom Hardy's career is a distinguished one. Tom spent over 22 years with IBM as an industrial designer, design center manager, and corporate IBM design program director. During that time, he worked on various projects from advanced single-user computers to development of the IBM personal computer. One of his advanced projects was an industrial design model of IBM's Scamp, considered by PC Magazine to be the world's first personal computer prototype. Tom was the corporate IBM design program director during development of the very first ThinkPad, Model 700C, and collaborated with IBM industrial design consultant Richard Sapper. After IBM, Tom founded the consultancy Verbal Visual Framework and worked with several key brands such as Coca-Cola, Ford, Lenovo, Lowe's Maytag, Microsoft, Polaroid, Porsche, Procter & Gamble, Samsung, Tupperware, Verizon, and Xerox. Tom's work has been cited in numerous books and publications, including Times Magazine's Top 50 Most Influential Gadgets of All Time, and has won international awards for product design over the years. Currently, Tom is a professor and graduate coordinator of design management at the Savannah College of Art and Design. One of the interesting facts about ThinkPad is the color of one of its most iconic features, the TrackPoint. Under IBM's usual parameters and direction, a user control, like the TrackPoint, should have been blue. Tom Hardy recounts what the team at the time had to deal with and how it ultimately became the red that we know today.
Yeah, well, IBM, because of all the products that the company made, and this goes back to when I was working in Poughkeepsie with the large systems. You have all these products that are made around the world. And theoretically, one customer could have all these things in one big computer used by the same people, but they're made and manufactured different places around the world. So, but they had to appear and be used as they came out of one place. Mm-hmm. It had to be a seamless systems design. So we had color specifications and shape specifications for all the buttons. Nomenclature had to be consistent between machines and indicator lights and so forth. So we had a functional color coding standard. Now, part of that was also safety related. So when we looked at once the TrackPoint was accepted into the product, then we had to pick the final color for it. Now, on our models, we made it red, because Richard really liked the, a lot of his products, including the T-Cell. The T-Cell is black and it's got a little red power switch on it, but the fasteners on the sides of those arms are red, and it's a classic combination, like details of red with black, and so we were going to try to make that happen in reality, but we knew that the functional color coding standard said a button with that function, or a control with that function, should be blue. And we mocked it up blue, and it just didn't seem like red, And this was going to be a big deal in IBM advertising because it was innovation. Nobody had done something like that TrackPoint before. So how to sell it? Because I knew that safety had to approve the color that, and most big companies that have products that, particularly electronic companies, the safety function has to approve every product before it's finally released to manufacturing and to the customer. So among other things, they'll go through functional color coding. and look at all the controls and say, does this match this color, this color? Is the word the same here? Blah, 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 blah. So we knew that they were going to object to the red. They could kill it. So Kaji Yamazaki was instructed to put the word magenta on the drawing and to make the actual color, knock it off of red, where it could be argued that it's not red, but don't make it pink, make it close to magenta in between if you can. Because the safety guys, they may not know what magenta is, but they'll know it's not red. So it's not going to fly in the face. We could say that it's another function color because it's not necessarily. There were certain parts of the safety piece of this that had nothing to do with some other functions. So we had some latitude in what we could do with a certain color. But this was a new thing. So anyway, but safety really had the control of where red was being used, and it was only for emergency power off on large machines. And this was far away from that in terms of what it did, you know. But it was strongly felt from our perspective. I mean, we had a bias, of course, but that this was not going to be confused with emergency power off on a big machine. So Kaz had the drawing called magenta, and he got the color put on all the parts that were going to come in to build the product, knocked off red, a magenta color. So when all these parts came in, and the safety guys going around doing a check, he sees these parts, and they're of course by themselves, and to him they look red. You know, he wasn't holding it up against actually red, pure red color chip or something else, but it looked red to him. So we knew this could happen. So he calls the design manager in Japan and said, "What are you doing approving a red cursor control? It's not a power switch." And the design center manager said, "It's not red, it's magenta." And the guy said, "No, it's red. You know it's red. I know it's red." So they went back and forth on this. So the next level of discussion was that the Japanese safety person would escalate it to corporate, because the design center manager got at the end of the discussion, we said, "Tell him to call corporate." So he called his corporate safety guy, who called me. So we go through the same thing. The guy says, "Why did you approve red for non-emergency power switch? So it's not red, it's magenta." So we dance back and forth on this thing. And he said, "I'm just going to stop it and stop the line. I'm going to stop the whole manufacturing." Now, when that happens, you see, he had the ability to do that. When your name would go like if there was an IBM newspaper, your name would be in headlines across the top. Tom Hardy stops production line. Now, that's a huge revenue stream when you do something like that, you know, because manufacturing has an end date, and marketing's all scheduled for stuff, and revenue and business model, all this stuff. It's a financial system. So you don't want to be responsible for doing something like that. So when we decided that we were not agreeing with each other, then I told him, the next level up, said, as you know, is we escalate this. In a situation like this, and stopping the line, it goes to the CEO. Because my senior executive was the vice president of corporate communications, who reported to, at that time, John Akers, who was CEO. So we could get a meeting like that quickly. So I said, "Okay, look, I'm going to schedule it because we have to get this thing settled, right? Too much is riding on this. So I just want to let you know just a heads up, who I'm going to be bringing to the meeting today. I'm bringing Richard Sapper, who was the industrial designer who's designing the ThinkPad product. And, by the way, he's a preeminent industrial designer on the line and blah, 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 blah. A little background of Richard, and he's also an expert in color. And I'm also going to bring Paul Rand, who is our corporate graphic design consultant. He's an expert in color and designed the IBM logo and blah, 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 blah. So think about this for a minute. How many times do you get to have an escalation meeting in front of the IBM CEO? And do you want to spend that valuable time discussing the subjectivity between magenta and red against two experts? And I'm heading up the IBM design program. I'm also a designer. I also deal in color. So we're experts in color. And you know who the CEO is going to believe, right? Because this is a subjective decision here. And just think about it. I'll get the meeting set up. So the guy backed down. He backed down. And so then sent an email to Yamato Japan and said, now make them red. Which they did. So that was a nice win with that. But those kinds of big things that happen, I miss the dynamics of a lot of that stuff because it's really interesting. And you don't win all of them, you lose some sometimes. That's just the way it is. But that one was special. Now, in parallel, by the way, to the safety argument, then we let advertising know about the red on it. So they had already started doing ads with the ad agency in preparation for the ThinkPad launch, touting the red dot, like the line is so hot they had to make it red. All that stuff was in the works. So they were spending millions of dollars on advertising using the red dot. The train had left the station on that. And so if for some reason the CEO had agreed with the safety guy on the color thing, then we would have to bring up the fact that there's all this millions of dollars being spent on advertising for this magenta piece here. And the CEO, in my view, would never have agreed to something like that if they knew it was going to basically waste all that money. So that was the backup if we had to pull that out, but we never had to go there with all of it. So.